All right, everyone. Thanks for joining me for another Coyote Radio show and podcast. Big guest today. Pete Bernard's with us of The Devil Makes Three, and I've been a fan for a long time. This band has played a major role in, I guess you could say, Americana folks roots music that's out today. And they're doing their own thing, but they're also keeping a lot of traditional stuff alive within their set and their music. So thrilled to have Pete on. Like I said, been a long time fan. We're going to talk about what's going on with them, whether it's touring or new music, kind of the background of the band and Pete, where they came from, and just kind of hang out and chit chat. So sit tight for that. I do want to say thanks to everyone that's been watching, sharing, liking. If you haven't already, please subscribe on YouTube. We're on all the streaming platforms if you're listening. But if you like to watch, we are on YouTube, so check that out. And I think that's pretty much it. Oh, one other thing I do want to mention, there's a big show that I put together with Duke's Indie. It's going to be July 15th. It's a Saturday, so if you're not local, make the trip, man. It's going to be worth it. We got Nolan Taylor is going to headline a show there at Duke's with Vaden Landers and Jason Day West. So great night of entertainment. And down at my favorite honky tonk. So it's going to be a great night. All the tickets and more details are online at my website there, Coyote Radio Show and podcast.com. And along with a bunch of merch too. We're selling coyote hides now. I got this right here. We got coyote skulls available right now for purchase. There's posters, t-shirts, all that good stuff. Basically, I'm not looking to get rich off this stuff, guys, but a little bit goes a long way. It really just helps keep this show rolling. I do this all under the radar. I have a normal job. This is just for fun. And I just want to promote good music and bring good bands to light. There's so much crap on the radio these days. And bands like The Devil Makes Three, probably not going to hear on pop country radio station. You're not going to. But if you watch a show like this, you're going to hear about them. You're going to learn about them. And hopefully you end up going to a show and just falling in love. That's the whole idea behind this. So, all right, let's go talk to Pete. All right, Pete, thank you for joining me on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Longtime fan here. And of course, Cooper's been on. I'm sure you've known that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I just want the whole story, man. Honestly, from the get-go, like how you got started into music, then how it progressed, and some of the solo work that you're doing, and getting ready to do a European tour. Just kind of run me through it, run me down it.
Well, wow, yeah, it's a long story. It's a long story. I guess I started playing music pretty young, about 11 or 12 years old, when I got my first guitar. My dad was a guitar player, and he kind of gave me my first lessons. My brother was a guitar player. My aunt was a guitar player. Some of them singer-songwriters as well. My aunt had a folk music career of her own. I kind of feel like everybody I looked up to was a musician.
Yeah.
Or an artist. Some of them were visual artists as well. But most of them were musicians. And so it was in my family that I really started. Did you see that? I hope the power doesn't go out. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's in the middle of a snowstorm right here. But anyway, I got started in my family. That was really my introduction to music. My brother was a big hero of mine. And when I was growing up, he played guitar and electric guitar. He wrote songs, went to music school, and I just wanted to be like him. So that was how I got started. And my dad also was a big influence on me as well. I definitely looked up to him as well. He's a songwriter, and not professionally, but he did it. So yeah, that was the beginning for me. I guess when I was pretty young, I decided that I wanted to play music in some way, and I ended up eventually going to California when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I started playing solo. That was kind of the beginning of everything. playing open mics and stuff. Really anywhere that I could get a gig. I always feel lucky that I got to deal with my stage fright when I was like, 15, 16, 17 years old. Um, which I had a lot of it back then. But I do feel bad sometimes for people who start out later. You know what I mean? You kind of got to go through all that, and I just went through it. When I was basically a kid. Um, yeah, and I ended up in California. I kind of before I got into the style of music that I ended up playing, I was oh man, I was into all different kinds of music. I definitely got pretty into punk rock. Um, I think all my friends did. We sort of went two different ways. Well, actually, we didn't even go two different ways. I was going to say there's like, people went towards DJing, people went towards punk rock music.
Yeah.
But actually, we kind of went towards punk rock, but also like hip hop music as well. Because in those days, I was really into skateboarding as well. Um, yeah, I got into punk music and the punk scene, and I started playing. Oh man, as really any gig that I could get at the time. And I played solo. Um, Met Cooper. Well, I mean, I knew Cooper since we were kids, but we met up in Olympia, Washington, and started playing as a duo. And during that time, it was really funny because it was like really hard to get a gig. It was the musical form was not as popular as it is now. It's pretty funny. We got a lot of gigs, actually, early gigs, where we would open up for punk bands. A
Okay.
punk show is pretty open. They would really let anybody play. Um, although we often got stuck between bands. Like it was like, okay, you can play while we set up our drums or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
we did those kind of gigs for a while. But it was great. I mean, honestly, we without the punk scene, we would be nowhere because like those are the people who really embraced us, and all our friends who helped us get shows early on. They didn't book our style of music at all. They kind of just did it as a favor um, to us, you know. So that was like how the Devil Makes Three really got started, was playing house shows, mostly house shows, playing some punk shows as well. And we continued to do that. Um, and yeah, I mean, God, we started touring in California, and we toured around California for so long. I mean, it's a big state, as you know.
Right. Right.
It's possible to just kind of drive around in circles for years, which we did. We eventually ended up, making it out to Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and then honestly, we just kind of slowly worked our way out,
Yeah.
uh, to the rest of the country, Canada, Europe. I mean, it took a long time. We're definitely a slow burn kind of a band,
Yeah. Why California? What I mean, obviously there's a lot of places you could go to music. California is definitely one of them, but that one seems so far away from your home to begin with.
Yeah, that was exactly the reason why. It was because it was so far away. That was like why we wanted to go, or why I wanted to go. Um, yeah, it was like how far away can you get, you know? And I think also at that time, although we didn't really play punk music at all, a lot of people we knew were going out there because of the punk scene that was there at the time. Um, and the music scene in general, in the DIY music scene. And there was a lot of people going there, and we kind of just went along. I mean, our style of music didn't really suit it at all, but we went anyway, you know what I mean? And it really was that. It was just adventure, you know,
Right.
far away as you could get. I mean, without going to Alaska, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how many people that have been on this show that have that well, maybe it's just kind of music and people I'm drawn to, maybe that's a big part of it, but uh everyone a lot of them start with like that punk rock background or metal. Myself included. I used to skateboard and do all that stuff, and now I'm like some I'm a taxidermist, country boy, live out in the, woods, but um it's just strange how there is definitely a crossover between all that. I don't know if it's just getting older and um, some of that older folk stuff. It in its own right is punk rock to the core.
Yeah, I mean, I
If
think
you
the
really
thing,
look at it.
yeah, it's very true. But also, I mean, I actually was into that music when I was very young, which was pretty weird at the time. Because if you were into skateboarding and stuff, you know that like skateboarding was like metal mostly. Like most of the people I knew who were into skateboarding were into metal. And so metal was like popular. And I was really into like sort of like folk music and finger picking and blues and country blues, stuff like that. And like through my father, I got introduced to, Lightning Hopkins.
Oh yeah.
Uh, then through my brother, I got introduced to like Howlin' Wolf and Mississippi John Hurt, stuff like that. And I started to kind of try to teach myself how to finger pick. But at the same time, I was really into skateboarding, snowboarding, punk shows. It was a weird combination. It's
Yeah,
like,
a folky on a skateboard just
yeah, it's
sounds
been really
funny.
lucky. It's been really lucky for me that things kind of went the way they did. You know what I mean? It's like I just I really loved that style of music, and I started playing it. I started playing in bands and playing it, and it just got more popular. It was like really lucky because I remember, yeah, like I said, when we first started playing, it was difficult to get a show. It was like people are like, "What? You don't have a drummer? You know, like if you don't have a drummer, you're not a band." It's like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and
the
it's
attitude,
like, how it's like music is hard to reinvent the wheel, but like with time, things come back around. It's like another wave of the folk revival sort of thing.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like the new age version, and you guys were kind of at the front of it.
Right,
Uh,
which was great for us. I mean, it was like really, really lucky because I mean, honestly, without the first folk revival, like our parents wouldn't have had those records, and
yeah,
then wouldn't have gotten into it. And I mean, that's the great thing about it is it feels like a great thing to continue on. It's such an awesome, like just it's like it's a great thing to be able to do. I feel like, and it was cool that yeah, it just so happened that it became a lot more popular during that time period. And I was like, wow, yeah, it was really lucky on our part because none of that was definitely not planned.
yeah,
We just kept playing and didn't stop. And it kind of got more popular around us, which was great. It's what I always tell musicians when I'm talking to them, especially younger musicians. It's like you just got to not quit. You know,
yeah,
it's like if you're doing something and you believe in it and it's good, you just got to not quit. You got to keep at it. And there's so many bands out there that people say, "Oh man, have you heard this band? They came out of nowhere." It's like when you check it out, they almost always have been playing for 10 years straight.
yes,
10
that's
years
right.
is the minimum. 10 years is the minimum, right?
Yeah,
Like they've been touring, they've been making records, they've been playing in different bands for 10 years, and then you hear about them and then they come out of nowhere, right?
right. It's a
Yeah.
little different this day and age. There's that with the way the internet is. There are some people that can just strike it. They make the perfect viral video, and then the next thing you know, they got a career behind them.
Right. Yeah. And they didn't have to do anything for it, which is crazy. The only thing is that like, I don't know. I mean, like that's a great thing about the technology today, but at the same time, do they do they stick around? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, does somebody like that, does anybody hear from them 5 years later? Because like for me, it's like music is a wonderful thing, but like, the trick for me is to be able to do it for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to do it until I die. That's like the goal. But yeah, you're right. It's like these days you can make the perfect video, you can make a ton of money and kind of like get in and get out. And it's possible, which was definitely not possible when I started at all. Um, but luckily I don't want that. You know what I mean? I just wanted to get in, never wanted to get out, really.
Yeah. You
It's
still
like,
still to this day, that's how you feel. It's like music till
yeah,
till you die.
I do. I want to be able to play music until I die. You know what I mean? Like what that means these days is different than what it used to mean. You know, I'm not on the road at the way that I used to be, but it's just like, I mean, it's a great thing to be able to do if you can do it. And that is one of the cool things about the musical style too, is that you're allowed to get old, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like in punk rock, I mean, you can get old in punk rock, but it's hard. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
The
Yep.
more, the older you get and the more haggard you look, might be more fitting, especially if Cooper's on the banjo, that old stereotype that's out there that's kind of ridiculous, but it's true.
Yep, totally. Yeah, well, here's hoping.
He needs to get his beard back then.
It's true, yeah, like really grow it in. But anyway, yeah, I mean, when me and Cooper met, we played as a duo for a little while. Then we ended up we are actually living in Olympia, Washington. We went down to Santa Cruz, and when we got to Santa Cruz, our car that we were driving broke down, and we had a friend there, Lucia, who was in college at the time, and she lent us her car, and we finished the tour and went down to Arizona. And she lent us this like a Zuzu Trooper that was just like basically held together with Bondo and old like like they had like bondoed it with like soda and beer cans, you know what I mean, to kind of like but it actually ran really great, and we took it all the way down to Bisbee, Arizona. My aunt, who was a musician, lived there at that time. She got us a show. And when we came back to Santa Cruz, we were like, why are we living in Washington? I mean, it was so beautiful, And Lucia was like, you guys should come down here. And we just did. We moved.
What year was that roughly?
Oh man, I guess that's probably like 2001.
Okay.
Yep, because pretty soon after that, Lucia became the bass player in the band. At the time, we had other bass players, but they were in other bands. They could never commit. And Lucia just learned the bass and joined the band. And we made our first album like a year later. And yeah, that was the beginning of the band. And we started out touring just locally, you know, did a lot of local touring. Going to San Francisco, eventually going down to LA, going to Sacramento area. Yep. And just little by little, we did more and more and more each year.
Yeah. I think for me being here in the Midwest, and you're talking about that slow burn, you guys came onto my radar. I'm thinking around 08, maybe
Mm-hmm.
09, 08. Yeah.
That's when we
I
were.
don't even remember how I heard old number 7.
Yep.
I heard that song and I was like, damn, that song is good. I love the way it's written and the downbeat of it, So I ended up seeing you live at a little venue called Radio. Brownbird opened up for you.
Oh yeah, I remember that tour. Oh man, that was great. That was
Yeah.
great. That was one of our only shows that we did in that area. You caught it. We did like maybe one other one. But that was about it. Yeah, I remember that tour with Brown Bird. That was a great tour. We toured with Brown Bird so much that we kind of had to stop because it was weird. You know what I mean? It was like,
Are they part of the band or?
yeah, I mean, pretty much. Like we did so many tours together. It was like, okay, we got to stop this and like get somebody else out here. But we just didn't want to because they were one of our favorite bands.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great gig. I remember it.
Yeah, that I can't remember where you played after that. I don't know. I've seen you guys a handful of times. There's a handful of bands that I won't miss a show if they're close. Within like a couple hours driving, I'll go. If it's either Cincinnati or Louisville or Indianapolis, or very rarely I'll go to Chicago.
Yeah, that's a hike. We did Louisville a bunch, Cincinnati a bunch. Yeah. We've been through there. We've been through there a good amount at this point. Yeah.
I think the last time I saw you, you were in Louisville with Trampled by Turtles.
Oh
That,
yeah.
outdoor amphitheater thing. It was pretty
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, we did that tour together. Yeah, that was a while back as well. It's been a while. We owe you one.
Yeah, come. The Midwest needs you.
We used to play Louisville actually because Lucia's grandma lived there. She's passed away now, but that was like a big deal. We go down there, visit her grandma. She was like overjoyed, we would come to
Yeah.
her town. It was like a big deal. Yeah, that was
Y-
great.
Headliners. That's right. Headliners
Yep.
musical. That's where you
Yep.
guys would play
Totally.
sometimes.
Yep.
In fact, there was one night you played Indianapolis, and I went to the show. It was at the Murrah Egyptian Room. I said, "Fuck it, let's go to Louisville tomorrow." We went back to back, me and some friends.
Nice.
Yeah. Uh,
Man.
so what's kind of going on right now? Obviously, COVID screwed up a lot of things for a lot of people. You guys kind of took a step back.
Oh
Cooper kind
yeah.
of filled me in on that. And so, are you guys like writing something or preparing for a tour now that things are kind of open back up? Or
Well, yeah, I mean, it took a little while to kind of like get everybody on the same page. Yeah, COVID really, as you well know, just disturbed everything. It was like kind of just took us off the rails there for a little while. But now we're going, our next tour that we're going to do is in Europe. Um, and I'm actually going over to Europe solo as well. And then when we come back from there, Devil Makes Three is going to do a couple of festivals and a couple of short tours this year. And we've got a 7-inch, just two tunes that like we recorded a while back that we're going to release around that tour. And in terms of like a full length record, we definitely are working on stuff. But honestly, we write slow. You know what I mean? We're like coming around to the point where we should put out a record. So we put out a record like every 5 or 6 years. You know what I mean? But yeah, we're working on stuff for sure. And we just kind of are getting back in the swing of playing gigs, and myself too, playing gigs solo. It's like kind of like I did keep playing through COVID as much as I could solo, because we don't all live in the same place. So it was pretty much that was my only choice. Um, and yeah, I kept playing, but as you know, I mean, it was weird. It was like attendance was way down and all that. So,
right, right,
but now, I mean, now I've been playing by myself and it's kind of feeling almost like just completely normal, which is great. Um, and Europe has been that way for a while as well, just like everybody's going to shows. And so that's awesome. Um, Yeah, so I mean, I recorded during COVID, I recorded a solo record, and that's kind of like what I'm now touring on because I could never tour. You know what I mean? I did
right.
some shows around here. I did some like regional shows, but it was like people weren't really coming out, stuff like that. So I'm kind of going out now to play on that record. And then yeah, the Devil Makes Three is gonna put out this like EP and go on this tour and kind of just see where it goes, see what happens.
Yeah. Uh, is it top secret, or can you mention what festivals it might be that you'll be at this
Man,
summer?
I'm not supposed to mention it.
Okay,
I'm not
I'm
supposed to
sure
mention
it'll come out.
it, but I can say that we're gonna play one festival out west, around the Santa Cruz area, and we're gonna play another one around New England. So
Okay,
yep. And we'll do like short run around both of those. Yeah.
good deal. Well, that's good, man. I'm glad, get you guys back out on the road some more. And well, who do you think, you know, you mentioned a bunch of stuff that you loved growing up and listening to. Who do you think's out there doing pretty good right now? Who are you listening to that's getting it?
You mean people who are current?
Yeah, just current artists that are playing music that you feel like are doing a good job.
Man, well, I mean, I gotta say, I love my friend Morgan Eve Swain. She's got a band called The Huntress and Holder of Hands, which is really awesome. And I've done some shows with her. I really like her stuff as well. She's in another band called Museum Legs, which I really like as well. These are bands that I've been playing with, kind of a little bit of a strange combination. The music's pretty heavy. And obviously I'm like folk, opening up or whatever, but I'm used to that. So, yeah, those two I really like a lot. I've been enjoying that. Yeah, man, let me think. God, to be honest, it's hard to say because, like I said, I mean, I'm like, not really out there as much as I was before. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people I like listening to, but like the amount of people that I've seen is really way less than usual. That's the way that I discover music usually, is to see people live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I go to shows and I buy records, and obviously that's been way less. So most of the bands I've been seeing lately are bands that I've been playing with. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. It's great. It's awesome to see live music again. And also, friends are making records too, which is great.
Right.
We're getting back to it and making records. So yeah, those two are ones I really enjoyed. And I think Morgan Eve is actually in the process of recording a new record right now. And she's going to be playing with The Devil Makes Three as well.
Oh, great.
Yep. Yeah,
Uh,
and of course Benjamin Todd.
yeah.
Yep, well, I should say, went on tour with us long ago, and that was a great tour. Cooper.
Yeah.
Gotta
Yeah.
throw old Uncle Coog. Um,
I'd say
yeah,
like 80% of the people I listen to are probably dead.
yeah, that's
I
actually
was
my
so,
thing too. Like all my influences for the most part are dead.
yeah. Yep.
Yep. It's always been that way, since I was a kid. Like I said, I like a lot of old blues and country and some singer-songwriter stuff too. Actually, when I was living in Olympia, Washington, I met a buddy named John. And he was from Texas, and he introduced me to like Towns Van Zandt and Steve Earle, Guy Clark, that kind of. And that was before we started The Devil Makes Three. And he was like, "How have you not heard this stuff?" I mean, I was pretty young at the time. I was like, 20 or whatever. And that was a big change for me in terms of songwriting, for sure. But not all of them were dead. I guess at that point, Steve Earle and Guy Clark. Guy Clark was still alive. Steve Earle was still playing.
Hmm.
Yep. Yeah. So that was like, contemporary, but I mean, this guy's
Yeah.
mostly kind of got going in the 70s and the 80s. But yeah, yep. There's a big inspiration.
Right. I don't know anyone that doesn't like, at minimum, their style of writing. I mean, it's a story that they tell, the way they tell it so good.
Oh, it's so great. Yeah. Yeah. Just the whole like Austin singer-songwriter scene at that time was just so great, so much good stuff. And yeah, I've seen some of those people perform, and it was great shows. I saw Guy Clark. It was a really good show. I've seen Steve Earle. Of course, I didn't see Towns Van Zandt. I missed that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So you mentioned Morgan's going on tour with you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other surprises like that? Be
Mm,
the Devil Makes Four now.
yeah, well, we definitely, whenever we can. I mean, sometimes Morgan Eve will play bass, sometimes she'll play cello, sometimes she'll play fiddle. Every once in a while we have our, it depends on the tour. We're actually going to be playing as a three-piece, or if Morgan Eve's there, maybe four-piece with her on the fiddle or the cello, depending.
Hmm.
But previous to that, we were playing, yeah, we'd have drums sometimes. We'd have a guy who sat in on baritone guitar. Honestly, it really just depends on the gig.
Yeah.
It's so much easier though to do the three-piece thing, that I think we're gonna do more of that. Um, just because really honestly, it's just like doing that stripped down thing is how we started the band, and it feels real natural,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, so it
So,
really depends on the gig. I mean, who knows what we'll do. It depends on what gigs we get.
yeah, I like this stripped down approach. Really, it's like its purest form. I mean, there's so much still there. I feel like a lot of times, a lot of bands try and just overdo it, just make it too
Yeah.
complicated. So
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know
like,
if you guys got the right fit for it. I don't know what it is, but it's got the edge, but it's like clean at the same time. It's
yeah, I
really
really
cool.
I really like it. I really like it. Like I said, when we first started, it was hard to get gigs, but Lucia also had like a real aggressive style of playing the bass, and she started learning to slap fairly early on. And if you have somebody that kind of drives the music, you know what I mean? I don't think the drums are really necessary.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
you don't really need it, although it's nice. It kind of like, it backs everything up and creates like this nice base for everything to be on. But for our style of music, if you have that kind of bass player, it's not really necessary. And yeah, so I think we're going to be doing more of that. And as far as people sitting in, oh God, I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
What would you say is the coolest tour you've been on, or who that you've played with? Because you've been all
Wow.
over the place.
The coolest tour I've been on.
I remember
Wow.
you playing with Willie Nelson, and I thought that
That
was a
was
cool show.
amazing. That was an amazing tour. That was like kind of a dream come true for us because actually I literally had a dream about opening for Willie Nelson. It was kind of a nightmare. In the dream, I in the dream I went out on stage to open for Willie, and it was like a packed house and nobody showed up. Like the band didn't show up. It was like everybody or something like that. I was like, oh fuck, like this is bad. And I had that was like a reoccurring nightmare. But but then we got the gig opening for Willie. Obviously, everybody showed right up. You know what I mean? It was like no one's gonna miss that. That was really great. It was a great tour. That was
Yeah.
fun. We would go out. That was huge. We would go out and he at the time, I don't know if he does this anymore, but he would do like sort of a gospel set at the end of his show. And
Yeah.
we'd go out and join him for that. Band was just so cool. That was a great tour. I'd say that's up there for sure. Um, Another tour that was not as prestigious at all, but that was really cool was when we first started the band. We went and toured all over France, and it was like DIY tour, just completely punk rock. We played literally anywhere they would give us a gig. Sometimes we played like a little village, there was like just like retirees and like little kids at the show, but it was like, and then we played all the cities as well. But honestly, there isn't that many, if you're there for a month. Um, I mean, there's not too many major ones, but we went everywhere. I mean, we played like house parties and bars, and we played music festivals. And at the time we were all really young. I'd never been out of the United States except for Mexico, and it was amazing. I mean, we had so much fun.
I'm getting jealous hearing about it.
Yeah, we might have had like a little too much fun. It was like after we came back, it was like, oh my God, like we can't do that again. But we did go back and do it again. We did a whole other tour there. We did 2 tours just in France, and we went basically all over the countryside, the cities, music festivals, ate a ton of great food, met a lot of really cool people, toured with some French musicians. And yeah, I just had so much fun. And after that, I was like, I'm going to learn French. And um, I did, but it took me like 18 years later. So now I learned it. But yeah, that was a great tour. It was it wasn't like opening for Willie Nelson, I mean, that's totally
Right.
different. We had so much fun. That was a blast. And we got that gig because we were playing at the Hotel Utah in San Francisco, which is a very small bar. And I don't even know if it's still open, but we used to play there pretty regularly. And this woman came in and she was like, "Hey, I like your band. I want you to come to France." And we were like, "Yeah, okay, we'll go to France." We thought she was just like, I mean, people say all sorts of things. And we were like, "Yeah, all right." I gave her my phone number or whatever. And she called. She was like, "All right, well, I bought you a ticket." And we were like, "Wow." I mean, we didn't even know her, but we were like, "We're going." And it was
Yeah.
great. It was a great tour. Just a total random occurrence. She actually had come to the United States because she loved, American music. She was really into like garage rock, punk rock, and stuff like that. And she was just going around seeing bands and seeing if she could find bands that wanted to come and tour in Europe. Yeah, it was just completely random. We happened to be there on the same night. It was a great, great tour. Um, we also toured opening for Social Distortion. That was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
What a
that was
mix.
yeah, it seems totally weird, but Social Distortion are huge fans of Johnny Cash, traditional country. Um, the guys in the band also are in rockabilly bands. So there's like a big connection, and they were really into it, because they really liked the style. They would do some Johnny Cash songs. We'd go out and join them. That was really fun too. Um, yeah, there's been a lot of tours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Willie tour. I don't believe it came in my area. Otherwise, I don't see why I wouldn't have went. But uh, the one I recall that I wanted to go to, I think it was down in Louisville again. You and Dwight Yoakam.
Oh, wow.
That would have been. I don't know when that was.
Wow. We did play with Dwight.
It was like a one-time show fill in or something, or was it an
The
actual
truth
tour?
is, you know what? I don't think you missed it because I don't think it happened.
It didn't happen.
No, I
Okay.
think it was canceled. But we did play with him in California, San Luis Obispo area. Same place we played with Willie. It was this place called the Pozo Saloon. And we did play with him there. I remember. We also played with Merle Haggard there.
Oh
Um,
man.
I don't think we were there on the same day. Maybe we were, but that was pretty cool too. Saw him multiple times. Um, yeah, that was great. That was great. But no, I think the one you're talking about, we said yes, but it never happened. It never
Okay.
happened. For some reason it got canceled, which we were really bummed about. But yeah. Yeah, no, that's the California country, kind of like Bakersfield sound thing, which we were like, that's that would have been a great gig for sure. Um, but no, I don't think it ended up happening. Don't think it did. But yeah, I saw Merle Haggard multiple times. That was really great. Another big hero of mine is Doc Watson. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, and I saw him, I think, 4 times. He was amazing, really just great. Especially the first time I saw him because I was really young. I was like 19 or 20, I think. Man, he was just so fast and so clean. Amazing show. Cooper and I went to see that together. It was in a high school like auditorium.
What year do you think that was?
Oh man, I don't know. Like Jesus, that's a tough one. I don't think I can dig that deep. But I don't know. It was in the late 90s, I'd say.
Late
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
he was
found I didn't
great.
even know I'm 36.
Hmm.
So like I said, growing up on punk and metal, I didn't know any folk or bluegrass really or anything like that. And
Hmm.
um, somewhere in college is when I really got into this stuff heavy. I was like, holy shit,
Hmm.
these guys are awesome. And I fell in love with Doc Watson. And I went down the rabbit hole and found out like right up, I don't know, 10 minutes from here, there's this old shitty theater. They still play old pictures in it. It's like vintage, you
Hmm.
know. Um, he played there in 2008.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I could have had a chance to see him, but I didn't know of him at the time. It
Yeah.
was like just when I was getting into all that stuff. Uh,
Yeah. It was kind of the same deal. I probably wouldn't have gone to the show if it wasn't for Cooper. We couldn't believe he was playing there. Exactly the same kind of thing. It was a high school. It was like where you'd go see a school play.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like if your cousin like was in a school play, it was like that. I mean, the sound was a decent. It was just him up there by himself, so it didn't really matter. And of course, I mean, he could play acoustic. I mean, it was silent in there.
right.
And, yeah, one of my favorite records of that is Bill Monroe and Doc Watson live record. It is such a great record. I don't know, I can't remember where they were playing, somewhere down south, but one of the best things about it is the banter. They're just
Yes.
talking to each other and introducing the songs and real casual, and you can hear the audience too. It's just like, jumping out of their seats. It's like amazing, which I mean, making a good live record is a difficult thing.
Yeah, it is. And I was listening to yours today. Um, I love it. The
Is
energy in
that,
that
oh
room.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, totally. I
It
know what
needs
you
a
mean.
it, it needs a little more banter in there though.
It's got like none. That was before I learned how to do it from Bill Monroe and Doc Watson. They've got
But
like I love that though. Just listening to what people say is the funnest part.
yeah, there's man, I don't know even know how to. Oh, let me grab this real quick. I don't even know how to get this to you, but because I don't know if it's available anywhere. But this, I don't know if you can see it. It's the Stanley Brothers.
Oh yeah, yeah, nice,
It's the last performance that Ralph did with his brother before he died in 1966
nice,
in Bean Blossom, Indiana, which is
nice.
40 minutes from here where Bill Monroe's Park is. And
Hmm.
it's where it actually is recorded. It is where the Bluegrass Hall of Fame is. It's not the main Bluegrass Hall of Fame. I don't know how many Bluegrass Hall of Fames there are, but
Hmm.
the main one's in Kentucky. But then there's one here that's like a portion. It's smaller, but that building used to be where the stage was. And they cut this live little record. It's 22 tracks on it, and he was just, I don't know if they're just burning them at home and selling them there at the festivals. So I met Ralph and he signed that for me
No kidding.
back in, I don't know, 13 years ago or something.
I saw him play as well.
Yeah. And
Yep.
the banter on that is hilarious. Like the way
Yeah.
they talk and communicate, like,
Hmm.
but it's nowhere to be found online. I've looked and searched. I'm gonna have to
Wow,
talk
that's
to.
cool. I love that.
I'll have
One
to
of my,
reach
one of
out
my
to his grandson because his grandson follows this show,
oh, cool.
Nathan. So I'll have to hit him up and see if he knows more about it because I think it's
Yeah,
very special.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, one of my favorite records that I used to listen to a lot was Doc and Merle. It was called Southbound.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great record. Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, but I mean, he made a lot of good, standard records. Oops, sorry about that. But uh, I really love those live ones.
I
It's
yeah.
actually one of my favorite Towns Van Zandt records as well as Live at the Old Quarter.
Okay. I don't know that
Also
one as
great.
well.
It's cool. It's just like a bar. You know what I mean? You can hear people talking. It's like, it's real casual. I mean, they probably figured like, oh, let's go record Towns, like it was probably before he was really well known. But it's got yeah, it's got people talking and like kind of cracking jokes and like people are kind of like heckling him a little bit too, and he's telling jokes and it's just him by himself. It's a great record, really kind of like, just a straightforward folk, live performance. The type of thing makes you feel like you were there. It's like
Yeah.
really
I
great.
feel like the live records in general, they don't get the recognition, as much as someone's, studio version of whatever.
Well, I mean, it's because it's hard to make a good one. I mean, it's really tough. Like, we made a record with a guy, our last record that we made, and he was like, live records are good. Like recording live is good if it's good. You know what I mean? It's like if you're really right, if you're Bill Monroe and Doc Watson, it's like it's probably pretty good. But you got to have the right day, or you just got to be them. You know what I mean? It's one of the two things. I mean, I love recording live. Devil Makes Three's done a lot of that. Um, I think too, it's like, if you get it, you can like capture the feeling of the show, which is what people want. And I mean, it's what I want. I mean, I think that's why I loved those records so much. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a tough thing to do. There's a lot of live records that they're just not like they didn't capture it. You know what I mean? It's a
Mm-hmm.
hard thing to do. It's a really hard thing to do. But when you do it, it's great.
Yeah, definitely. Good deal. Well, I mean, we covered a lot. Is there anything else you should inform the public on? Thanks. I mean, this has been great. You've been filling me in on all the stuff I've been kind of wondering about.
I don't know. I guess the only other thing really, yeah, that I'm going, Devil Makes Three will be back out there in the States and in Europe. We're going to be playing all over. We're going to be playing England and we're going to be playing the Netherlands, Germany, Scandinavia. And when I'm over there solo, I'm going to be playing in the Netherlands and Germany and Belgium. And then, yeah, like I said, I wish I could tell you where exactly we're going to be. We can't do that yet. But we'll be out west playing with the band, and we'll be playing some shows around the East Coast as well. Um, Yeah, I guess the only other thing is that we got that 7-inch coming out, an EP coming out, a couple tracks, and yeah, I don't know. Nothing else I can think of unless you got some more questions.
Basically, everyone needs to follow along on social media and check out the website from time to
Yeah,
time.
for
You
sure.
guys do
Yeah.
got some other new merch that dropped too. I noticed some new prints.
Yeah, we always do. Actually, we just got some really cool posters made for the tour that's coming up. A really awesome artist who's from Croatia made them. It's like limited edition prints. Same thing, doing, new t-shirts and stuff like that. We try and always keep that going.
Keep it fresh. Yeah,
Yep, for sure.
got to collect them all.
Yep.
My my favorite Devil Makes Three shirt. I wore it till I can't. It's gone now, but was the banjo with it was crossed with the little star on it.
Oh, we got to bring that back.
Yeah, bring that one back. I wore that thing everywhere.
Yeah, we're actually thinking about doing that. One thing we were talking about putting up online is basically like, hey, if there's a design that you like, tell us what it is, and we'll like go in the vaults because all of our merch is made by a friend of mine. You see that how the lights are flickering? That's a power going out.
Yeah.
It's like the
So
middle of a big storm today.
how much was snowfall?
Oh yeah, seriously. Yeah. It's like really, really, it's I don't know, not a ton of snow, but it's real heavy and like the power's been going out all day. Oh, look at that guy.
Get out of my drink. That's
Yeah,
the
it's been going out all day. That's why I said I didn't know if we could do video because it's been like, I don't
off and
know.
on.
Yeah, off and on all day. Like the power just came on a few hours ago, and we're kind of in the country, so when it goes out, it's like it might not come on for a little while. You know what I mean? Like we're close to town, but it's a small town.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
Right on. Well, like I said, man, I really appreciate it. And anytime, like, it's open door for you guys. You can come on anytime if you want something to talk about or something you want to get out to the public. I can be
Awesome.
one of the tiny avenues for you. But yeah, it's been good. All right, Pete. Any other last words you want to say?
Yeah, I'm going on tour in Europe with Clyde McGee from the Bridge City Sinners. Yep,
Okay.
we met up and we're going to go on this whole tour together. And then hopefully we're going to end up doing something together with the bands out west, I hope, or maybe we'll play another show. And I also totally forgot to say that we're going to Colorado right around 420. We're going to be doing 3 shows in Denver area right after the European tour is over.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's not Red Rocks though, right?
Oh
Shit.
well, no, not this time, not this time. But yeah, we'll be there. We're going to be doing a couple of shows around the area. Yeah, I think it's like for like 19, 20, 21.
Okay. Good deal.
Yeah, cool.
All right. You heard it, everyone. Follow online, check out the tour schedules, keep up with Pete and the Devil Makes Three, and we'll catch you next time.
All right.